A Bitcoin head and shoulders with a target to $16,000. Is it true? Is that going to come to fruition? Or is this a setup that's getting ready to fool the bears? What is up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Hit the subscribe and like on the way in. Let's jump into the video. There it is. It's on the weekly. It's ugly, but it really is. It's a head and shoulders. I haven't really even talked about it. A lot of people are talking about it. I want to dig into this. I want to look at both scenarios and just show you something very interesting. I just retweeted this. I don't know who this is, but this tweet was so on point, and he really eloquently put how I've been thinking lately. The way I see it, we're facing one of two scenarios. Scenario one, this was an oddly short bull run. If true, and considering on-chain data showing a steady increase in adoption, then I would expect an oddly short bear market to follow. Scenario two, we ain't done yet. So I kind of think scenario two, I think we're not done yet. And he's just on point with that tweet. It's so well put. 420 days post 2020 halving. Here we are, 420 days post 2016 halving, in the middle of that last bull market. Likewise, potentially still in the middle of this bull market. And there's so much other data suggesting this could be the case. Now there's obviously on chart data that suggests that we could be going down. Namely, there is a technical analysis, head and shoulders, on the screen. And I want to talk about that because there's something really interesting that lies within these charts. And the first thing I want to do is I want to discuss the downside. Of course, there's always potential downside. We've been digging into this short-term move to the mid 20,000s. We've been digging into that. And we've also been digging into just this downward scenario. If we go back to the weekly, that could set up for a long-term Fibonacci retracement. And that's the bear market low to the all-time high. And we have this retracement area, 25,000 or 26,000 at the 618 to the 786 around $16,000. So that $16,000, it really is an interesting area. And I just want to draw a line right here, 16,000. So that is a long-term Fibonacci pullback area to support, number one. But number two, let's remember this was an area that we talked about the bull market doors back in November breaking. It was the 786 line, right around $16,000 at that time. So that area to the downside is also the target of this head and shoulders to the downside, and it's sitting there, right? And I talked about this area to the downside because of that Fibonacci retracement pullback area as just being just a ridiculous discounted Bitcoin. I guess I can imagine, because I'm talking about it, Bitcoin falling to that area. I just don't think it's really going to happen. And that's the thing. There is a target to the downside on the head and shoulders. And that's the question. Does that mean it's definitely going to happen? It's not how patterns work, everybody. Oftentimes we track patterns that just completely fail to come to fruition. And so it is the target to the downside for this head and shoulders isn't guaranteed to come to fruition. But let's talk about a head and shoulders first off. So number one, we have a pullback rate, and this is something I want to focus on, of 68%. So a pullback is basically Bitcoin, and this is very important, breaking to the downside out of that neckline, and the neckline is right here at this extremely important 1618 area around $30,500. And you can just see this is the swing high, bull market high, to the bear market low, and to this 1618 line. Look at Bitcoin resting and just breaking below that 1618 line, which is confluent with the head and shoulders neckline. So we're breaking below. A pullback would look like Bitcoin coming down and then pulling back up to the neckline and above. That's a pullback. So basically, 68% of the time we see that happen. This is based off of patternsite.com, Bolkowski. We adjust some things to compensate for the volatility of crypto, but in general, a pullback rate of around 68, 70% is definitely what we've seen historically. So percentage meeting price target, 51%. So 51% of the time, Bitcoin or whatever will hit its price target, in this case, $16,000. That doesn't give you much of a guarantee. 51%, it's basically 50-50. And that's where we make this transition to how the bears could be getting set up to be fooled right now. Now, what that looks like is the flip side of the 50-50, meaning Bitcoin doesn't hit the target. And not only that, we get a pullback. So here we are, a busted head and shoulders. So I want to talk about this. What a busted head and shoulders is basically a head and shoulders setup, right? So we have the head and shoulders on the screen, and it's kind of, we break to the downside. We get the pullback, which we just looked at 68% of the time, and Bitcoin would actually continue to the upside to our all-time high, and then at the very least, break 10% above that all-time high area. That's what a busted head and shoulders is. Price must confirm the head and shoulders top by closing below the neckline. We've done that. Price must drop no more than 10% below the breakout price of the head and shoulders top. And if we go into a daily chart and look at this, 10% from that neckline, let's chart this. 10% from the neckline, we're looking at around $27,000. Now, remember I said we adjust, we compensate a little bit for the volatility of crypto. So in terms of these breakouts of trend lines and getting a pullback to the upside in this case, we would look for 10 to 20% volatility. If we get a pullback in that range, there's a strong case that this could turn into a bullish busted head and shoulders. So notice how 20% or so to the downside is right around our target of the descending triangle that we've been tracking, right around $25,000. Could be a really interesting point if Bitcoin does continue to the short term to the downside, get the pullback back up to the apex even of the descending triangle, even after basically hitting the target. But more importantly, the 1618 line, this neckline of this huge head and shoulders that we have on the screen, getting the pullback to that area and then continuing on to complete the busted head and shoulders. Price rises and closes above the top of the head and shoulders. Price continues rising more than 10%. So going back to this chart, this is what it would look like. Price gets the pullback. We continue, and this could be extremely volatile all over the place. Who knows? But we're eventually hitting the top of the head and shoulders, and then increasing above that at least 10% to $72,000, $73,000. Now, this could be the story of Bitcoin playing out, continuation into the bull market. And notice, if we look at this chart, this could be the case for Bitcoin finally hitting this huge long-term target out of this symmetrical triangle that extends all the way back to 2017 with a breakout target of just about $100,000. This could be the case, a busted head and shoulders propelling Bitcoin into the second half of this bull market. Not trying to throw hopium out there, but I do want to look at the flip side of the bearish scenario. There's a lot of bears out there right now, rightfully so. I mean, this is a head and shoulders on the screen. You do want to be prepared. I don't want to throw hopium. I don't want to come off as always bullish, but the truth is, even in an atmosphere where Bitcoin's revisiting this $16,000 area, the head and shoulders target to the downside, I'm still bullish, and I'm going to have a bullish tone, a bullish sentiment when you watch my videos, because I'm just long-term in this investment, I guess you could say. And those dips with accumulation at hand, those dips provide the most amazing opportunities in these markets. We've been here before. We've tracked the bottom of the bear market. And guess what? That proved to be an amazing opportunity. And so it is, just like this tweet says, I would expect an oddly short bear market to follow, and it would be extremely, extremely short. And it would look like probably something like this. Bitcoin very quick to the downside, maybe a target to the downside, but don't rule out a busted head and shoulders in this case. Patterns are not guaranteed. Pattern targets are not guaranteed. Keep in mind, this is based off of 2,800 perfect trades. His percentage of meeting price targets, 51% in this case. Sometimes it gives us a little bit better ratio, but basically 50-50 in this case. So this is something we're going to track in terms of technical analysis for Bitcoin. Wanted to share it with you. Just data, everybody. It's just data. Be prepared for all scenarios. You see what it looks like on the screen. I'm sure one of them is probably going to play out on the screen. Be prepared for each. Get comfortable. Don't spend more money than you could afford to lose. Don't take financial advice from YouTubers. Have some fun out there. I'll see you in the next video. Hit that subscribe on the way out. Hit that like on the way out. God bless.